Thanks again, everyone, for joining us today on how to get your MSP discovered and learning about SEO and content marketing. I am going to hand it over to Jen Ewing. And Jen, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Allison?
I am great. I know we have a ton of registrants and attendees for this webinar. I think everyone's really excited to kind of get started. So why don't we go ahead and get started?
Very good. Well, thank you so much. So my name is Jen Ewing. I am one of the partner engagement managers here at Secure Now, and I do also want to thank all of the attendees for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join the webinar. I promise my co-presenters and I will make sure the next 45 minutes of your time is well spent. So with that, just want to jump into a few introductions. I am one of the partner engagement managers here at Secure Now, Breach Secure Now, and I am predominantly responsible for working with prospective partners, helping them understand our security platform, how that might fold into their security stack, and their overall go-to-market strategy as it relates to security. I have Curtis Hays on the line as well. He's one of my co-presenters today. He's the founder and search marketing consultant of Kaleidoscope, so he's going to be delving into all things SEO, search engine optimization. And then last, I have Kathryn Daniels with TechStak. She's going to be sharing how TechStak connects IT firms to qualified businesses that are actively looking for services that you provide. So with that, let's just jump into the topic of the webinar, which is search engine optimization and really the importance and the power of content marketing. Just to set the stage a little bit, I mentioned that I work with a lot of prospective partners and business owners, and during my conversations with these business owners, I found they are most familiar with traditional marketing methods, but still may be a little bit fuzzy as it relates to digital marketing, which SEO is just one aspect of a complete digital marketing strategy. And, additionally, MSPs are consistently and continuously striving to differentiate themselves in a very competitive market and space. And what I found is they're traditionally building their business through referrals, and that can be very cyclical and unpredictable. So given that, one recommendation that I make and one way to drive new business and create a consistent flow of leads is to really develop compelling and actionable content that can be repurposed across multiple marketing channels. And ideally, if done well, this should create client stickiness, set your business apart from your competition, and really should tell a story that will resonate with your ideal clients. So today, the topics that we'll be covering will be providing some great guidance around why it's important to develop a content marketing strategy, how to write that compelling content that sticks, and then Curtis is going to cover the basics of search engine optimization, why SEO relies on content and content marketing, covering topics including keywords and link backs and local search ranking factors and much more. And then lastly, our third co-presenter, Kat from TechStak, again, is going to be sharing how, TechStak really has that ecosystem of buyers and partners to connect the qualified businesses to the partners that are actively looking for the services you provide. So with that, I'm going to jump into why you need a content marketing strategy. So we've provided some really good metrics and some information, some data points around buyers today, how they're looking to engage with businesses, how they're looking to consume the services that you provide. And, really at the end of the day, in today's market, the buyers are educated. Recent research, what I found indicates that the average buyer has done approximately 90% of their research online on a prospective MSP partner before they even reach out further to vet the service. So really what that's telling you is that in today's digital marketplace, it's more important than ever to really ensure that your company messaging and your brand is succinct and clearly outlines your strengths, your differentiators, and most importantly, how is your MSP or how is your business going to help solve their business, the client's business, and technological challenges. So therefore, topic of today, content marketing is extremely important because, again, your buyers are out there, they're researching your company when you don't even know it. So content marketing can allow you to really passively capture your buyer's attention and speak directly to their needs, all while showing your prospective clients that you understand their unique needs, right? You're going to position your MSP or your business as a true expert and trusted advisor. So, content marketing and a really solid content marketing strategy can also drive revenue through lead generation, but it's important to remember, and this is key, that consistency is the key factor here. It's a long-term solution. It's a long-term strategy. Creating and delivering that actionable content consistently really is going to pay dividends in the long term. You may see some quick hits, but if you think back to traditional marketing, this really falls into the category of that top-of-mind branding, right? Consistently keeping your messaging, your company, your brand top of mind with your buyers and your target market. So to do that, you have to consistently deliver that message through your various marketing channels that will ultimately net in an increase in revenue, leads, and profitability. So now you're probably thinking, okay, that's great, but how do I create a content management or marketing strategy? What is that? So I really want to unpack this a little bit. And, when I'm chatting with business owners and marketers about developing their content marketing strategy, I personally believe there are some very fundamental steps that should be taken initially. A lot of folks think that you just want to throw out content out there on your socials, on your website, on your LinkedIn, and that's great, but you don't want to get any piece of content out there. You really want to take some time to take a step back and specifically identify who your target market is and who your ideal buyer persona is, right? Because when it comes to good content marketing, ultimately, how to develop that is to speak specifically to the clients you're really trying to engage. This is super important. So taking a step back, identifying your target market. Who's your audience? What are their specific challenges, right? Who are your buyer personas? Most often in the channel world with direct clients, you're going to have multiple buyers engaged in the sales cycle. So you're going to have the business owner who ultimately might be the end-all decision maker. They're going to have their own set of challenges that they want to meet. You're going to have a technical decision maker. You're going to have a financial decision maker. And all of your specific pieces of content need to specifically speak to those buyers. You want to understand what kind of content you want to create. Are you going to build off a theme? Do you want to set yourself apart in that way? What publishing channels are you going to use, right? What mechanism? And then, how are you going to develop this content? So some of you may be taking a step back and saying, well, shoot, I'm not a good copywriter. I don't know how to tell a story. I'm a technical person. This isn't my area of expertise. And I've been in sales and marketing for quite some time. And some great resources that I've recently found in books that have been written around developing really compelling content and crafting a story around, your business is Building a Story Brand, written by Donald Miller, and then Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall. So these authors both provide great ideas around storytelling that will captivate your target market, but also come across as extremely authentic, which is really important when you're building that relationship with the buyer online through developing content. So then, how do you develop a content marketing strategy? We provided, 7 very important steps and some things to think about. And these are all great examples, but I kind of want to delve into a few of these specifically because some of you in the audience may or may not be familiar with some of these concepts. So the first thing that every, business owner or marketer should do, in my opinion, would be to identify what goals they specifically have for their content marketing strategy. From there, it's really important to define your KPIs. So that's a key performance indicator. So if you're not familiar with KPI, a key performance indicator is a way to really measure the success or efficiency of a marketing campaign or how a business achieves their identified objectives. So just a few examples of a KPI as it relates to content marketing, for instance, would be, what were the number of new clients that you acquired that was directly attributed to your campaign over a duration of time? As a partner, did you see an uptick in net new client leads after starting your content marketing rollout? Did you have a lot of website traffic, increase to your website? So you want to kind of measure the website traffic metrics. Did you have a lot of online conversion rates? A lot of folks who maybe you developed some branded landing pages or you had some other call to action on your website where you saw a lot of folks, kind of diving in and providing their data so you can take it to the next step or their contact information. And then lastly, brand awareness is a really good KPI to measure as it relates to content management. This is a little bit trickier, but like one example could be, maybe if you have an inside sales team and they're making phone calls and, when they're talking to a prospective client, that client says, oh yeah, I've seen you out on socials. The stories you're telling and the blog posts that you're putting out there on LinkedIn and Facebook business page really resonates with some of the challenges that I'm experiencing as a business owner. So that's just kind of some examples of some KPIs. The other thing that I really want to talk about and dive into a little bit would be, kind of managing the content that you create with the content calendar. And a lot of folks, they're busy, right? Time is the biggest challenge in getting content out there or even just diving into any sales and marketing campaign. So just quite simplistically, a content calendar is a simple and it's an easy way to plan out all of your content activity. For me personally, a calendar-based format is most simplistic, but there are many ways that you can create a content calendar. I mean, even using Excel is one way. And fundamentally, using a content calendar is just an easy way to produce that consistent flow of content that is planned in advance, that keeps you on task, and it's consistent with your content creation and dissemination of actionable content. So maybe, again, you're building on a theme, like 1 month it's about phishing, the next month it's about dark web. You really just want to kind of keep yourself consistent. You want to speak, again, directly to your target market. And then you're always going to be going back and you're going to be looking at measuring your campaigns, right? Measuring the success and the KPIs around the content that you're developing. So, and this is an iterative process. This is something that's fluid. You want to kind of rinse and repeat, but you're going to check out and you want to determine, what's working, what's not. Do we need to make some tweaks? But really at the end of the day, you want to be consistent in your efforts. And that's where something like a content audit is really helpful, just kind of auditing the content that you're putting out there. So with that, now you might be thinking, holy smokes, how am I going to do this? I don't have the time. I'm not a copywriter. There's some beautiful news. The great news is that here at Breach Secure Now, we've actually done all of the heavy lifting for you. So for any attendees on the line who are existing partners, you're very familiar, or hopefully very familiar, with our partner resources page. Our marketing team has put together and produced some amazing content that you can use, you can white label, you can customize. You don't have to worry about doing any of the heavy lifting. So we've, developed and created client-facing videos. We've developed blog copy. We've developed flyers and infographics that you can customize, write a couple sentences of actionable copy, and start evangelizing that out on your social platforms. We've developed really compelling branded landing pages that you can completely white label, that you can use for an email nurture campaign or hang it off your website. And we have some fantastic calls to action in there. But at the end of the day, we've done all of the heavy lifting for you. And so you have now saved hundreds of hours as it relates to developing these videos, developing these content. You don't have to worry about any of that. And theoretically, thousands of dollars in working with, any kind of outside marketing firm. And for any prospective new partner who's on the webinar, you may not be familiar with our partner resources page. This is included in our baseline partner subscription, so we can definitely have further conversations offline. And that pretty much concludes the content piece of the webinar. So now I'm going to pass it over to Curtis from Kaleidoscope, where he's going to talk about SEO.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was some really great information there. What I think I love the most about it, and what you covered, was the KPIs and the calendar. And I think that really helps to create a system of accountability within your content marketing plan, and helps to then make sure that you get a return out of the investment that you make in your content marketing, which sometimes can be significant. And so with that, what I want to do is just kind of like give an overview and segue into just talking about the search engine in general, and what mainly what we'll be discussing is Google and what Google is looking at. You know, the algorithm is very complicated. There are lots of changes being made to it. There's actually some changes being made to the algorithm right now that we're not being told what's going on, but we're seeing fluctuations. And so with that, we try to break it down into 3 simple areas, at least simple from a way of describing it. And the first, when we're talking about content and your content marketing plan, is discussing what we would call relevance. So when you do that research on your audience and what types of problems and pains do they have, what you want to do is make sure that you have content that is closely related to and answers the questions that your audience has. So from Google's eyes, you have relevant content that matches a user's search. And so Google's looking at the intent of that user and trying to give them the best answer to whatever question they're putting in, or providing a link to a service from a provider that provides the service that they're looking for. And so from relevance, once you're ranking for the right keywords, is the way I would say it, the next thing that Google's going to be looking at is authority. And authority comes from links that are pointing to your website. There are other factors to authority, how old your domain name is, and when it was last registered, and when it expires, and some small factors like that. But the main factors boil down into building trusted links from other websites pointing to your website. And so once you're ranking for those keywords, getting to the first page, which is where the majority of the clicks are coming from, you want to establish trust. And that's where that content marketing strategy is. You're not only just sharing that content out on social media, but being involved in as resources with your partner organizations, maybe guest blogging, being a part of local associations, chambers of commerce, those types of things, which we'll get into a little bit more detail on. And then the third area would be user behavior, and that Google terms rank brain. So the rank brain part of the algorithm is Google's looking at user behavior on your website. The goal of the search engine is to provide the best, most meaningful content to users. And so as a machine, how does it measure that? And so it's measuring it by, again, that user behavior. So it's going to look at things like click-through rates, which would be how frequently do you come up in search, and then how frequently do people then click your link and come to your website. How long do they stay on your website? What we typically would look at in Google Analytics as a bounce rate. Google actually views that as dwell time. So how long are they spending on a specific page or your site? Are they clicking into additional content? Are they converting on your website? Some of those KPIs that Jen talked about earlier are going to be really important. And so, if you're compared to a competitor and users spend more time on your website, they look at additional content, they share your content, those are going to be signals to Google that you have better content than your competitors, and so therefore could potentially rank you higher. So again, relevance relevancy, authority, and the third would be user behavior, or what Google calls rank brain. So again, these are big topics that today what I really want to do is give you some things that you can implement right away. Take a look at your content strategy, but maybe immediately after this webinar, jump right into some things you can do. And so this opportunity I see actually comes in the area of local SEO. And why do I see this as an opportunity for MSPs? Well, you're in a very competitive market. I've done advertising in this market for a long period of time. Just doing some research prior to this, I see that managed IT services as a keyword in Google pay-per-click has an average cost per click of $65. And that's very expensive. And oftentimes we see keywords in the technology space could easily be between the $15 to $40 range per click. And if we were to take a look at optimizing in a paid campaign for those types of CPCs, you could be looking at $300 a day minimum, which would take you to a $9,000 a month budget just to be competing in paid ads. And that's only to get a handful of clicks to your website. So we know this is a very competitive market. And so what are some opportunities that you have to find some niche areas, find some niche pieces of content? And so with local search, we're seeing that almost 50% of search now has local intent, and that's rapidly increasing. It's actually near me type searches have grown 150% faster than any other traditional based searches. So those location based searches would be, if you're a company in Chicago, let's say, it'd be somebody doing a search for managed services Chicago, or network security provider Chicago, Illinois, or Cook County. They're using those location based keywords in their search query, or they might be doing a near me based search. So what we can do is we can optimize our website for those location based searches, but more importantly, we now see Google utilizing the Google business listings to optimize for those keywords. And so that's going to be really important as we see that 29% of Google search result pages contain local map pack results. And so those map pack results are what you see here in a mobile view, where we've done a search for a managed IT service provider in Chicago. And once you scroll below the ads, which typically there would be 3 ads in the search result page, we now see that we're getting the map pack. And there's typically 3 positions here that are shown before you click in and view the entire map. And so how is Google optimizing for this? And Moz did some research on this in 2018. And you can see that the Google My Business signals are by far the most important area. And oftentimes when I'm doing work for clients, I see that the Google My Business profiles are not filled out completely, that there's opportunities within your Google My Business to optimize. And so that's what I want to speak to you about today. And hopefully you can go in after this presentation and start to do some optimizations that could hopefully be some quick wins for you. So, and you can see some of those other things that we've already talked about for local search. You see number 2 there is the link signals. So again, that's building that authority and getting links back to your website. Reviews are super important. You can see that Switch Fast Technologies here has a 4.9 rating with 294 reviews, and they're in the very first position. I'm not sure how WallScott ended up number 2 without any reviews, but you can see the third position here as 5 stars and 25 reviews. So are you soliciting and getting reviews? Again, those behavior signals you can see as number 6, which accounts for almost 10%. The other localized organic rankings would be those positions that fall below the map pack. So those what would be traditional organic positions, there's 10 per page. On mobile now, you can kind of do an infinite scroll, but page 1 would be the first 10 organic, and you can see the most important there is the link signals. And then your on-page signals, which I talked about, which would be to get location-based keywords within your website. Those would be, certainly optimizing your contact page and your locations. It could be doing some more technical things like local business schema markup on your website. It could also be putting the areas that you serve within your service pages. So when we look at the map pack and breaking down the top three, what is Google, really looking at? And so what we really need to make sure that we're doing is completely filling out those profiles, and that gives us an opportunity to show our company information appropriately. Jen mentioned earlier, I think it's close to 90% of organizations are going to do research on your company online before making a buying decision. And so certainly they're going to search your brand. So what I did was search a managed service provider by brand here, DataPrize in Maryland. And you're going to see some of the information here about their company and easy contact information. I can click a button to call. I can request directions. I see their star ratings. I see an image there. Maybe I might want to select a different image that might showcase my company a little bit better. Certainly getting things like your hours of operation, a link to your website, all of those types of things are going to be really important. And Google is pulling all of that information from your Google My Business listing. And so again, from a brand perspective, making sure that that's 100% accurate and you've filled out all this information is really important. When we look at it now from a desktop view, and this next slide I'm showing desktop search instead of mobile search. And on the right-hand side, you will see DataPrize again. On the left-hand side, just a random search I did and found a company in Colorado. And you can see the difference in presentation of the branded search. So on the right-hand side, just breaking down a couple things here. And what I want you to do is do a search for your own brand and see what types of things that you see on mobile and on desktop, and if you're happy with. So when I search DataPrize, I see that nice picture. I see, great reviews. I see plenty of good information, their hours of operation, their phone number, all those types of things. But I also see organic search results from their website. And their website is actually pulling up quite a few pages. This is really good from a reputation perspective. If they did have any bad reviews online, it would be less likely that they would show up on the first page because they're controlling most of the search results. These are all properties that they manage. Their website, their Glassdoor listing, Indeed, their LinkedIn down here at the bottom. These are properties that they have some influence over. Certainly their website they do. And they've really done a good job of optimizing their titles, those page titles and those meta descriptions. You can see they've got really good language in here, call to action, contact us today in that very first listing. Where you look at Mariner Business Solutions on the left-hand side, and they haven't taken the time to fill out a meta description, put in a good call to action. Google's just pulling random content from their website. They haven't put in what they provide in their page title on their homepage. And so just not as strong. I mean, it's not bad, but it certainly could be better. So now as we move forward here and kind of dive in a little bit more on the Google My Business listing, if you have a listing now, go to business.google.com, log in, or if somebody else in your organization has the login, have them add you as a manager on the account. Make sure that your profile is completed. Make sure you have the right photos there. Update those if you need to. And then where you have, I think, one of the biggest opportunities right now, because Google just recently made changes to this, is in the services area. And so previously, and Google still does have a set directory of services. So previously, if you wanted to say you were a network security provider, that wasn't a service you could add because that wasn't part of Google's service directory. And you would have to select the broadest, closest match, which would have been information services. Well, just recently, Google added custom services. So what you would do now is go to the services area in the info section of your business profile, select your information services, and now you could select, more niche specific services that you provide. And just think of these as keywords. So the more keywords and specific services that you have here, the more likely it could be that when somebody is searching for that service in your given area, that your business is going to show up either in the map pack or in an organic listing, or maybe even just show the knowledge graph and show your company completely. Majority of companies where I'm auditing and looking to see if they're completing these properly, they're not. So I strongly encourage you to go and add these. The other area would be products. So right underneath services would be a products area. Products would be those things that you sell either as a service. So it could be something like maybe a network assessment audit or a business continuity audit or something like that, where there might be a set or range fee for that product. This could be hardware or software as well, but you can add products. So if I were to add, say, a business continuity audit, and somebody was looking for a network security provider that also did business continuity, there's possibility that you could show up in a search result. They could find your business listing and come to your website. If you don't have a business listing, you would need to log in with a Google account, again, at that business.google.com, fill out all of your information, and then Google sends a postcard to your physical location with verification. That's kind of a two-step, two-factor authentication. And then they will, what you do is then take that code, sign back into your account, and that'll verify your business. Now, once your business profile is completely filled out, what you're then going to want to do is go and take that exact same information and get it into additional directories. And we call those either citations or NAP, N-A-P, which stands for name, address, and phone number. So these would be similar to those backlinks, but they don't necessarily need to include a backlink. What Google is doing is, as it indexes the website, it's seeing your name, your address, and phone number on these other websites, and it's using those as citations, almost like backlinks, to build your domain authority. So while we have directories like Yellow Pages and search engines like Bing who do have directory listings that probably are used less than 1% of users, it still matters from a Google perspective. So don't neglect those types of directories. Get those global directories like Bing and Yellow Pages. In addition, look for your local niche directories. Maybe it'll be a local chamber of commerce you should be in. Look at the Better Business Bureau. We're also going to have a download for you guys as well, where I have a list of some global directories you should be in, as well as some niche directories that I think could be extremely beneficial. And again, lastly, what I want you to do is to test your search result pages. And so beyond just searching for your brand name, one of the things that you can do, as a handy little tip, is to put in a specific keyword and see what pages on your site are actually ranking. And you can do that by putting the keyword query and then put a space, site, colon, and then your domain name. What that'll do is Google will provide you search results only for your domain name, only for your website. And look through those listings and see, are you happy with the page titles? Are you happy with the meta descriptions? Are there some areas for improvement that you could take advantage of? Maybe you work with your marketing team, your webmaster, to improve those descriptions. The page titles are really important from a keyword perspective and rankings. And again, just going back to those click-through rates. And finally, as we look at directories, I want to hand things over to TechStak, because this is a really good opportunity for you to get into a niche directory, have an additional directory listing one of those citations, and not only where your potential audience could be there, but again, it's one of those citations that could help build up the authority to your website.
Thank you, Curtis and Jennifer, for all those insights on SEO and content marketing. So now let's look at the third piece of the puzzle. Like Curtis mentioned, leveraging marketplaces and directories can lead back to your SEO strategy and your content marketing strategy, because as he was saying, this having your company and your name and your phone number and all of these other backlinks can help with getting found and discoverability and visibility. So from a discoverability standpoint, small businesses are looking for different service providers, not just in Google and local searches, but also in different marketplaces such as TechStak. This is how they can help. This is how leveraging marketplaces can help to distinguish your brand. It helps you stand out. It helps you with brand recognition. It helps you with your credibility. There's reviews on those sites and ratings, just like on Yelp. Google and Yelp are technically marketplaces and directories where you can put your business, and if you want to be on Google and Yelp and Bing and all those other places, then you also want to be on TechStak, especially if you are an MSP or an MSSP. So another thing that marketplaces and directories offer are the awards and certifications. This also just, adds more leverage to your name and to your brand as a company. So moving into talking more a little bit about TechStak. TechStak is an IT-focused marketplace. We're also considered a niche marketplace. We're an integrated marketplace that also has other features tailored specifically to MSPs. We've talked a lot to MSPs, and so we know what you guys need and what everyone uses. So one of the things beyond lead generation that TechStak offers specifically is partnering with other firms on our platform. We offer sales and marketing resources such as this webinar. We can also offer a few other things in the sales and marketing region if you need help with those things. We also have products and services on our website or on our platform that you can use through our portal. And then we also, of course, offer education and learning resources. TechStak has a lot of different partnerships that we have in place. We believe in building everyone up and connecting everyone and doing all these things. That's what we're built on, is connecting, translating, and advocating for everybody, for small and medium businesses, for technology business. The MSPs can be small and medium businesses quite often as well. So we have brought together all of these different resources to help build up MSPs and MSSPs. So if you are looking to build up your business and need help with SEO and your content marketing strategy, you can go to TechStak, you can go to Breach Secure Now, and of course with Curtis's help, we can help you guys continue to build up your business even further. But with that, I will hand it over to Allison. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Kat. That was wonderful. Thanks to Curtis and Jen as well for giving us a really good overview of some good information that I think our MSPs and our partners can kind of take some actionable next steps. Like Curtis mentioned, you can download your SEO audit cheat sheet in the handout section. If you don't get a chance to download that, we will be sending out an email a little bit later today with the recording as well as a link to download and get access to that handout again. So with that, I am going to go into some of the questions that we have had come up. And it looks like, Curtis, this one is for you. What if my MSP doesn't have a physical location? Can I use FedEx or a PO box for my Google My Business listing?
Yeah, so this used to be something you could do, and Google My Business did allow establishing a business using a FedEx box, and unfortunately now you can't. So Google wants you to have a physical location that a customer could actually visit. If you are in, say, a WeWork or some sort of shared working space, as long as you have a unique suite number, then you can claim your business listing. But otherwise, that doesn't prevent you from having a Google My Business. So if you're kind of a satellite company, your workers are remote, or you're from home, what you can do is you can set up a service area business. And so when you do register your Google My Business listing, what you will do is define a service area by, say, region, city, or zip code. And then you're not necessarily tied to a specific address, but to the service area itself. And then a big recommendation I have after you do that is to go and solicit as many reviews as you can, because that's, as I showed before, going to be a huge help in the map pack listings.
Perfect. And kind of going along with that is, what if I have multiple locations for my business?
Yeah, so if you have multiple locations, you definitely want to claim and optimize each location. Each should have a unique address, a unique local telephone number. It's okay to use more than one phone number, have a local telephone number, as well as maybe you have an 800 or 888 kind of a helpline. And then be sure that once you create those second Google My Business listings, that you go to those other kind of niche directories and citations and build up those listings into those directories as well for your satellite office. And then again, look at those like niche areas. So if you are in other markets and you want to grow in those markets, should you be joining a local chamber in that market? Are there other local directories and those types of things that you should be in as well? But definitely start with that Google My Business listing, claim it, make sure it's unique and it's 100% filled out, and then go to those other directories.
Perfect. It looks like we have another one here. Kat, I think this one might be for you. What are some of the benefits for MSPs being in a niche marketplace like TechStak?
Well, for MSPs specifically, so if we're talking specific to TechStak, we offer a lot of different services and resources to help build up MSPs and even, on occasion turn them into MSSPs if that's something that they're looking to move into. For other niche marketplaces or for marketplaces in general, I mean, it backlinks, it helps with, their SEO strategy and Google and found, so that they can continue to build their discoverability, so that clients can find them easier and they can continue to grow their business.
Okay, perfect. Let's see, we have another one here. Jen, I think this one might be more for you. It looks like a general marketing question. Is there one approach that you think MSP should take as it relates to getting their messaging out to the target market? Or what have you seen be successful working with partners?
Sure, and I love that question because I personally think that it should be a blended approach between traditional and digital marketing. But I've seen a lot of success with the partners that I work with and consistent success in evangelizing security and their business on their various social platforms, specifically LinkedIn and their business Facebook page. There's just so much interaction there, and collaboration that can be had on those social platforms. And I think it's a really great way to have a captive audience but also evangelize out to your target market using some of those metrics within those social platforms. But I think whether it's a traditional route or a digital approach, creating that compelling and actionable content is still key. And obviously SEO is a huge part of digital success. But that's what I've seen. I think it's a nice blended approach, but there's just been so much traction as it relates to, leveraging socials lately. Everybody wants to get onto socials and kind of further vet an organization or do some research.
Let's see. Curtis, does the use of a fictitious phone number on a website for tracking purposes cause an inconsistency with any GMB data?
No, I mean, so yeah, typically what we'll do and from a tracking perspective and tracking conversions is use some third-party tools to essentially track a visitor who comes to the website, and they're going to get a temporary phone number and call that phone number, which is going to forward to your main number. Usually in the HTML code, there's JavaScript there, and so the HTML code doesn't show that number, that sort of fictitious number, and there's a fallback, your main local or 800 number that's actually in the HTML, and that's what Google's going to see. So Google's really never going to see those temporary numbers because that's being fired by JavaScript and managed, by a third party through maybe an API or something like that. So the HTML, Google will see the correct number of your business. This is all provided it's implemented, of course, properly by your developer and you're, using one of the reputable companies. But as long as that's the case, I don't think you should have any concerns.
Perfect.
And it's a good practice.
I have one more
I'm happy to hear that people are doing that because that's a great way to measure those KPIs. All
about measuring. Looks like I have another one. So This might be kind of for everyone. Any feedback on how to convince your clients to really leave reviews when they don't really want to do it in the first place, but they give you some nice feedback, maybe an email or on a phone call. How can you kind of persuade them to place that review on GMB or go on Google and leave that review?
I can jump in here again. So what we've advised many of our clients is to do that is, either part of closing out of a project. Maybe you have a client and retainer and it's part of a quarterly or yearly check-in, and definitely solicit. So whether it's in person or you ask over an email, and then make it easy for them. You maybe give them options. You want to be collecting reviews on multiple places. So if you give them the options, here's our Facebook business page, here's Google, pick one and feel free. Or in many cases, those are public. And so they don't want to leave those because their name is going to be left behind with that review. Even if it's a good review, they may not want that there. So even with you collecting it internally, there may be opportunities for you to use that anonymously on your website, or maybe it's part of case studies or those types of things. So I think there's a place for it. And the more that you go at soliciting it, the more you'll probably find that people are more than happy to leave a review. Again, I think the most important thing is give them options, create an email template and send it at the end of projects. And, if you got 10, 15, 20% of respondents, that's going to go a really long way over a period of time.
Yeah, and this is Jen. I agree. I know when I was in the channel, I spent 16 years in the partner community in various sales and marketing capacities. And when I would go back to clients after wrapping up a project, or, I just knew that they were very satisfied, and asked them to leave a review or even participate in a case study or a testimonial for the website, oftentimes they were willing to do it. But again, get kind of in the theme of content marketing, they felt very nervous and apprehensive about putting something together that they felt represented the project and their experience in the right way. So to Curtis's point, I think providing a framework, a template, even assisting them with that process goes a long way. I think a lot of the apprehension is not necessarily leaving the review or being part of a case study or testimonial. It's just they don't know how to create it and craft it and make it sound articulate.
That's a good point.
I agree. One of the things that we do is we have, reviews of our providers on our platform. And one of the things that we do is we actually send a questionnaire that kind of gives them a few leading questions that kind of gets the juices going, so that they can articulate, really what it is that the services that were provided to them and the customer service and how everything went well or didn't go well, whatever the case may be. But yeah, doing all those things. You guys are exactly right.
Perfect. And I am just going to ask one more question before we kind of close things out here. And I think this one's for Curtis again. So someone has rebranded many years ago, and their new company is called something different. But both company names have a Google My Page, and they show up. So is there any way to combine the two? What are your thoughts on that, Curtis?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, there is not. And so really the best thing is that you really can't bring over and combine the reviews or anything like that. So you're going to want to close. Well, if you didn't, the ideal way would have been to rename the existing business that was there. If you end up in a situation where you have duplicates, you really do need to close down the duplicate one and then focus on building the profile of one of those, because that definitely can be confusing. I know oftentimes, even myself, having worked with Google products for a long period of time, I run into situations where I'm not exactly sure the best way to handle something. And so I would strongly encourage you to reach out to Google support if you're in that type of situation. And I can't guarantee that this would happen, but there could be some things that they could do on the back end to help you. Though, in my experience, I've never seen them combine accounts or combine reviews.
So it looks like that is the end of our questions. If for some reason I missed your question, we will be reviewing these afterwards, and we can reach out and answer any questions that we may have missed. Just lastly, before we kind of end, I wanted to talk about the next webinar we have. And so this is really, really exciting. Curtis is going to do a live SEO audit of one of our registrants' websites. So if you're interested in really getting a live SEO audit, you can register once we have that link. So keep your eye out on the email. But it's going to be a really, really awesome. He's going to dig into the website and do a live audit right on the webinar. So we're really, really excited about that. And don't forget to download your SEO audit cheat sheet in the handout. Like I said, we will also be sending out an email shortly. But I think that kind of finishes things up for us today. I wanted to thank all of our presenters, Jen, Curtis, Kat, thank you so much for dedicating an hour today to kind of educate our partners. And thanks to all of our MSPs for joining us. I know everyone's really, really busy, so we appreciate you joining us. So yes. Thank you, and everyone, have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.